Aloha, my name is Haawina Maikalani o Waikahalulu Iowane Wise. I'd like to talk about my name. My dad gave me my name. My name is Haawina, the lesson, Maikalani from the heavens, o Waikahalulu, of Waikahalulu. And me and my twin sister, and actually all of my sisters, we were all baptized at Waikahalulu Pond, which is a pond near our home. My name is the lesson from above of Waikahalulu because the day I was born, my mother delivered me and 4 of my siblings in our home at Waikahalulu, in the house that my father built out of scrap wood. The oldest was born in the hospital. So the day that I was born, my mother was unaware that she was having twins. I guess in those days there were no sonograms, and they just listened to the baby's heartbeat to see if the baby was healthy. And I guess my sister and I were back to back. I'm a twin. And so when the doctor went to go listen to the heartbeat, he heard one heartbeat, because I guess if we're back to back, we were beating together. So when my mother pushed out my older twin sister, Aina, my father cut the umbilical cord with me still in my mother's opu. And my dad said my mom started bleeding very heavy, and when she thought she was pushing out the afterbirth, she pushed out a second child, which was me. My dad said I was blue, and I guess you could consider me dead, because for a split second he had the notion of burying me outside, because he remembers seeing like a little grave going through the bushes one day, and it was small enough that made him kind of think it was one of a child. So he had a split second notion to go and bury me next to another child, and then he decided to pray to Kane, the god of life and fresh water, and asked to spare my life, and in exchange he would give him his life. And he gave me CPR here today. So my father always says that I was a good lesson for him the day that I was born. And that mo'olelo just ties me back to Waikahalulu, and it reminds me that I am literally of Waikahalulu. I was born and revitalized at Waikahalulu Bay, and that is what connects me to that bay, and why I'm so drawn to this community. What do I remember growing up here in King's Landing in the MAHA community? I remember the wind. I remember the sound of the wind in the bushes. I remember the bushes, being surrounded by bushes. I remember the ocean, the sound of the ocean. I remember the sound of the rain. I remember the winter season being really wet in our house, because my father built our house with whatever material he could find. I have no idea if he even purchased any of the material that was used to build our home. All the material, from what I know, is he got from people's scrap wood, scrap metal. He went to the rubbish dump. He just, wherever he could find material, my father built our house. So there were a lot of leaks, and I remember during the winter season there were buckets all over the house, and everything felt wet during the winter season. The summers were hot because of no insulation and metal roof that sun beams right through and heats up the whole house. But if I had to describe growing up during my elementary years, I could say it was heavenly. I couldn't think of any other way to grow up. We spent all of our free time down at Waikahalulu Bay. We walked, it was a 1-minute walk through the trail that my father cut. I remember we graduated, I guess you could call it graduating from one pond to the next as our swimming skills got better. We started off at like a tidal pool, I guess. It was the high tide. I guess if I measured now, the high tide mark might be my knee. And over there we would just float. And as we got stronger in swimming, we could move into the bay and swim in the bay on the inside, where the waves pushed in, and you could actually swim. And if I had to measure that on a high tide now, it would probably be maybe chest deep. And then as we got stronger in swimming, we could swim. There was like this little canal that kind of went with the waves and the tide, and it would suck out and push in. So the fun thing would be to jump in when it pushed in, and then ride the current out when it sucked out, and hold onto the rock and let it like pull your feet. And then you could graduate one more time. There was a big rock out, and we could jump into the ocean. So I remember graduating with our swimming skills. I remember my dad going holo holo. I remember limu kohu, opihi, ahole hole, manini, hauke uke. I remember my dad would catch the fish. He would set the net, or he would ho'ole upena. He would throw net, and our kuleana was to take the fish out of the net, scale them, gut them, and our most favorite part was to feed the puhi. That was always fun. We would throw the guts into the water and watch the puhi come out and eat it. I remember my pedal bike crew. I remember we used to ride our bikes up and down the road. We had our borders, Uncle Bill's house. We couldn't pass Uncle Bill's house, and we couldn't pass Uncle James' house. That was our two borders. And I remember riding down the hill, hooking left, going across the street to Navai, Laimana's house, picking up Navai. The pool was too old. She never jumped in with us, and Francis boy was younger and a boy. He never came. We would pick up Bojo, go up the road to the left more, go up the hill, and we would go to Bojo and Pelikane's house, and we'd got Bojo, Malia, Kuahivinui. Malia was older and mean, so she never came. And we would go to Uncle Bill's house and swim and lay on he had like cement, so we would like lay and dry off. Or we would go past our house to the right to Green Pond. On a high tide, you could jump in, but Green Pond was really salty, so from Green Pond, I remember going even further right to Uncle James' house. Uncle James had the huge freshwater pond, and that was real just jump in, jump out, rinse off. Sometimes we would take the tube and linger, but had plenty of mosquitoes, so we would leave quickly. We always went on the road from one place to the next. Never used the shoreline, because Dad said too dangerous. Kai ai kanaka, water gonna come and get you. Or we would swim in each other's ponds. So we had a pond at Waikahalulu Bay. Navai guys had a pond. I remember the whole idea was to jump over. She had red opai too, I think, in her pond. And then even the Pelikanes had a pond. Everybody had a pond. Plenty fresh water back here. I remember I remember growing up to be very different in comparison to how my children are growing up. I remember a generator. We used generator for electricity to watch color TV. I remember we had to walk to the generator. It was a little bit far, and even if it was raining, we had to walk. Our original outhouse was away from the house, and we had to walk to that, even at night, flashlight. I remember at first we didn't have a shower. I remember a bucket, a 5 gallon? Barrel, the big barrel. And I don't know if even we had a gutter. Maybe it was just falling off of the roof, and then the barrel used to catch the water, and that's where we used to shower before my dad built us a shower, with a cup, and then we just showered like that. And then when we got a little smarter, we used to fill up the malolo syrup plastic juice containers in the barrel, take it up top in the morning, so then the sun hits it, warms it up, and when we come home we get warm water. See, my teenage daughter don't know that. I always tell her, appreciate the hot water, get in a shower and appreciate that hot water trickling down your back. Remember, eventually Dad got Paloma. I know how to turn on a Paloma. Ask my kids if they know how to turn on a Paloma. Paloma, propane. When the ice box broke, everything had to go in cooler. Yeah, plenty times the ice box broke. Everything was in cooler. Oh, I remember warming up my food on the stove. Leftovers, no microwave. And if I reflect back on it, that made all of those things that I thought was, in elementary, I thought it was normal. in middle and high school, I thought it was uncool. You know, the peer pressure of social acceptance is real during teenage and high school years, and all that I thought was normal, like that's how I lived, was considered not cool. And I guess as all teenagers do, I went through that phase of in elementary, this was everything. This was life. This was heavenly. It was safe. I remember feeling safe. I remember riding up and down the road with my neighbors at 10 years old maybe, and feeling safe because I knew my Uncle Bill, I knew my Uncle James, I knew my Uncle Francis, I knew my Uncle Louis. I knew everybody in the community, and it was a real strong sense of community and safety living back here. And then, you know, you transition into middle and high school, and then it becomes the opposite. It actually became a little shameful to live back here. Tried my hardest not to tell anyone where I lived because we didn't even have a phone for people to call if anybody wanted to call. I remember CB radio. We had a CB radio. That's how we communicated. I never passed my test. My sister did, so she was the only one who got to use it. But we had the CB radio with a big, huge, thick antenna on our car with the extension cord coming out for electricity, because after, my dad, very smart, went from generator to plug into the car battery. So we had the car with the extension cord coming out. And then, you know, I remember leaving around 18, 19 years old. Right out, my senior year in high school, I think. The outside world was very appealing, and for some reason I thought I had to be out there. And so when I graduated high school, I guess I could say I graduated from King's Landing and left, which I now regret with all of my heart. I definitely regret leaving and losing Waikaha Lulu. But I appreciate the ability to still access Waikaha Lulu and access King's Landing and come back here. Yay to my dad for coming back in to our community. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. It always makes me feel a sense of relaxation and peace when I come back here. Like, I drive past things and it reminds me of growing up, and it feels good. It feels whole. Peace and the freedom is very rehabilitating and relaxing and peaceful. Now my role in the MAHA community is to help make sure that MAHA will always be here for my generation, my children's generation, my grandchildren's generation, and for hopefully every generation thereafter, because MAHA and King's Landing is special, not only to me and my family and this community, but it is a special place in itself.